Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today at the Open Learning Forum 2026. We've got quite a few people who are joining us now from around the world. Good morning, everyone. Cheryl, Marnell, Ronaldo, nice to see all of you. Thank you for coming. Yes, it's a morning or afternoon or evening, depending where you are. Okay, so this is the Open Learning Forum 2026, focusing on AI skills and the future of learning. So we have a very condensed program for you today. Yep, we've been coming in from Philippines, Malaysia, Australia. Fantastic. Good morning. Now, the agenda today, this is in Australian Eastern Standard Time, Sydney time, 11 a.m. We'll start off with a bit of a welcome, introductions. I will do a short presentation, and then we'll jump into the product spotlight, where we have a range of new things I want to share with you today, from skills, portfolios, jobs and employability. And then we have a showcase of some new AI features that are launching in Open Learning over the coming weeks. And then we'll move into a panel discussion, focusing on AI skills in the future of learning with four very esteemed guests. So we're very honored that they're joining us today. And then we'll wrap up. So, probably 2.5 hours. Welcome to join us the entire time or part of it. This session is being recorded, so the recording will be available as well. Okay, well, let's get right into it. And feel free to introduce yourselves and say hello on the chat. I can see many of you already are. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A or chat box, and we'll try and get to those as well. And we'll send a short survey out at the end of the session. So welcome to the forum. My name is Adam. I am the CEO of Open Learning. And today I've got some really exciting things to share with you. One is, how Open Learning is expanding beyond the traditional confines of a learning platform or an LMS, or really what people think a learning platform might be. I think we all have this idea in our mind of what a learning platform is, and we put like into a shoebox, but it actually can do a lot more. And that's what our focus is at Open Learning. How do we make sure it can do even more? Now, the way that we're doing that is by drawing upon sort of our roots. And today we're going to launch a few exciting and new developments and share those with you. The first is going to be a global marketplace, connecting learners to skills, jobs, employers, institutions, and destinations. The second will be a new suite of employability tools designed for universities, colleges, institutions to increase graduate employment and prepare learners for the workforce. And the third is our new suite of AI outcome-based assessment tools, starting with rubric generation and a refresher on some of the learning design and course building tools that we have in Open Learning using AI as well, all in line with best practices in education. So a few exciting things. We got a lot of stuff in the roadmap on Open Learning, so this is just a short taster of a few that are coming up. But for those of you who aren't familiar with Open Learning, let me just give you a bit of a background. So we started the company in 2012, about 14 years ago now, so quite a while. And in that time, we actually started off as a platform for MOOCs, massive open online courses. And we started that for about 5 or 6 years. We actually ran the first MOOCs in Australia, first MOOCs in Malaysia, and we worked with hundreds of institutions throughout that process. And that was really exciting. Institutions are able to build and run courses for free, and many still are today. Then over the years, we established our offices across Southeast Asia, particularly our regional head office in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur. And we listed the company on the stock exchange. But in that time, we've also pioneered a range of educational innovations, from micro-credentialing, including the first micro-credentialing framework across Australia and Malaysia called OpenCreds, which is being used by dozens of institutions today. Embedded generative AI tools, which we started launching in 2023, and now usage has grown significantly, including our AI course builder, and a range of other tools. So OpenLearning has grown from being a MOOC platform into a platform designed for short courses, micro-credentials, online degrees, and then now as an LMS as well. So the platform's capability has really expanded over the years, but we haven't lost sight of OpenLearning as an open platform that lots of people are able not just to use, but also run courses either free or paid on. So today we work with hundreds of providers, over 5 million learners, and that's giving us a great foundation to launch some of the new features that you'll see today. Now, when thinking about what we do at OpenLearning, obviously, learning management system or learning platform, delivery of learning and teaching, and all the elements of learning and teaching is a core part of it. And that's, the bread and butter, it's what you have to do. But the LMS can do a lot more because the LMS is often the central gateway or the central place where students and learners come to take courses and programs and get to know people. So it is actually a learning experience, especially if the course is fully online. So we've decided that OpenLearning can go a bit broader than the typical LMS. And we want to assist institutions and educators in addressing some of the main challenges facing the education system today, including the delivery of lifelong learning and micro-credentials, the unbundling of degrees, and the way in which that's changing the higher education landscape, the adoption of outcome-based education, which has been ongoing for many years, 5, 10, 20 years in some cases. But now the tools are actually making it possible to implement outcome-based education in a more pedagogically sound way. And that's something that OpenLearning has really been focused on. So the idea that learning outcomes are the foundation of the educational or the learning and teaching experience, and the platform is able not just to integrate and align with those outcomes, but also to ensure that they are achieved. And the third element is around graduate employability, which is becoming an increasingly important topic. It's always been important to students, but I think with a lot of the changes happening in the world today, the advent of AI and institutions and organizations changing the graduate recruitment programs, students are more concerned or challenged than ever, sometimes in getting their first job, depending on which programs or degrees they've chosen. And more people might end up becoming entrepreneurs or business owners, which is great. But not everyone can do that. And some people actually want to have a job for, a long period of time. So trying to solve these challenges is sometimes beyond the realm of a technology company, but OpenLearning is a bit different. We think about these challenges as things that we can assist institutions with because we do understand technology and we have great experience in education as well. And we really enjoy working together with our partners to achieve these goals. So in doing so, OpenLearning's expanded its remit from, typical learning platform to really being a platform that can go from first click to first job for a lot of students and institutions. We believe that student journey can start off with being able to attract new students through a global marketplace and sort of websites for your own programs and courses. The AI-powered LMS and course builder, it makes it as easy as possible to build and deliver courses and programs. Digital credentialing tools, so you can handle not just badges and certificates, but also the outcome-based assessment and education that feeds into that. The showcasing abilities, so you can showcase, students can showcase their work. They have a lifelong learning portfolio that stays with them their entire life. That's automatically generated and it's free for the student and free for the learner. And then the last piece around employability, where we have a whole range of employability tools that we're launching, some of those today, that really bring all of this together and not just send the student or the graduate out into the world without any support, but provide a whole range of tools that can scaffold that graduate recruitment journey, and then also bring in employers directly into the platform. So this has massive benefits, obviously, for education providers and educators, from lifting engagement and retention to increasing revenue and boosting employability and rankings across the institutions. So with that, I wanted to share with you a few of the new things that we're working on at OpenLearning aligned with these objectives. So that'll start with skills, portfolios, and talent discovery. So the first one that we're introducing today, is the OpenLearning Marketplace. And open learning has always had a directory of courses. We've always had the concept of a marketplace as a MOOC platform. People come to the platform, they look for courses and search for things. And we've always maintained that listing of courses. But today it goes beyond just courses, and that's what we're introducing. So the new Open Learning Marketplace will connect learners to global opportunities. It's a single marketplace that combines employers, institutions, learning, skills, destinations, and jobs all in one. It even has the ability for employers to either manage the applications from students for jobs themselves through the platform, or to send them out to their existing applicant tracking system. But it starts with the learning experience. It starts with the institutions building great courses and programs that deliver skills to those learners. And then it connects those learners to jobs. The platform has the ability for employers to come in, have their own accounts and profiles, employer branding, post their jobs, and students can see those. Those can be aligned to skills. Those are also aligned to destinations as well, because although many courses are online, they come from a physical location. The university may be in Australia, it might be in Malaysia, it might be in the Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, Brunei, India, all around the world. And people are always curious, just because you're taking an online course, it doesn't have to be entirely online. You are connected to a location. So that's the idea in showcasing these destinations. And then it also has built-in skills matching, where the learner can submit not just their CV, but also their portfolio, the courses they've taken, and then the platform can match the skills that they've developed in those courses against the jobs and give the employer an indication of the skills match and the capability. And that may or may not work for the learner, and they may have to go back and learn some more. So it's a cycle that comes together. So with that, what I want to do now is share with you a bit of a preview of the marketplace. So this is the new Open Learning Marketplace. Now, this is live, but it's not publicly available yet. We are in the process of, ensuring that all the courses and everything are up to date and aligned with the current marketplace. And if you're a university or a college or an education provider using Open Learning, you will be able to access this in the next couple of weeks. So you'll see a preview today. Some of your courses might already be in this new marketplace. And then our team will reach out to you and show you how to use the new marketplace and tools in a bit more in-depth presentation than I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to give you a cool preview of it, and you'll be able to see a few things here. So when you first come in, you'll notice that we have more than courses and programs. We have everything, but we have courses, programs, jobs, institutions, employers, and destinations. We even have trending skills. These are based on the jobs that are being promoted through the new marketplace. You can easily search, filter, and suggest for me as an AI suggestion. So based on your learning history, the AI will recommend courses in the marketplace for you as well. And there's a whole range of things we'll be doing with that, but that one's just the start. So when we first come in, I'll just click on everything. Make my screen a bit bigger there. So when you click on everything, you do get everything. You get courses, you get employers, institutions, destinations, all on a single page, including programs. So this is for someone who is just curious. They want to see what's available. They want to look around. And within here, they'll be able to do that and just see, everything and look at what's available. Let's say we just jump into courses to start with. Now you'll notice there's already well over 1,000 courses in here from different institutions that are using Open Learning and publishing their courses on our marketplace. You can filter by topics on the left-hand side. You can also filter by course type. So all different types of courses, from short courses, micro-credentials, through to degree programs. You have delivery mode, duration for hours of learning. So you can now filter by hours of learning to find out which courses might meet your requirements. You can filter by price as well. So all the price data is in there. And language. Skills are going to be pretty cool. So these are all the skills that the courses are actually mapped to. And we'll go into this a bit more, but these skills are coming from different skills frameworks around the world. So the platform now has the ability to load in and manage multiple skills frameworks. So for example, in here, I've currently loaded in the European Skills Framework at ESCO, I believe it's called, and the Singapore Skills Framework. And we're in the process of loading in skills frameworks from the Philippines. Australia has one under development. Malaysia also has a couple different variations and a national one, I think, under development as well. So as all of those come out, I think each country now sees the need to align their courses and programs to skills. That is built into the marketplace. And it actually uses AI to automatically map your courses to those skills. So you don't have to do any extra work, you just need to check it over. You can also browse through all the institutions that are offering courses in here, and the locations that those courses are being offered from. Now you'll notice when you hover over one of these courses, it gives you a bit of a tag cloud. These are the skills that you could expect to learn from this course. And these are the educators who are teaching it. So you can jump in and see very quickly who is there. Some having an issue with the audio, so hopefully you're able to hear me just fine. So as you scroll through, you can then browse through the different courses, see what's available from different institutions around the world. You got ETM, Western Sydney University, USM, quite a few. You can keep scrolling. It'll keep loading courses for you. So it's going to be quite a cool experience. Then you can jump into programs. Programs here is going to be all the different programs that are offered through the platform. These could be micro-credentials, they could be undergraduate degree programs, postgrad degrees, graduate certificates, even micro-credential bundles, different stacks of programs. So all of that comes together here. You can see the number of courses. And clicking through to these will take you to directly to the institution's site, so you can actually learn more about that program. So if you click on one of these, it'll take you straight into the portal on OpenLearning in the page. You can see all the courses there, and you can directly enroll in them as well. So this marketplace is going to direct even more traffic to the institutions that are using OpenLearning. And then we've started rolling out the job section. So we haven't made any employers live yet, except OpenLearning as an employer. So just so you can get a sense of how that works. But you'll see that, this will be able to list jobs from different employers. People can browse through the jobs, see what the job description is, the skills. So all of the jobs are also aligned to the skills frameworks that the courses are aligned to as well. So in this case, this job is aligned to the European and Singapore skills frameworks. I think there we go, European skills framework and Singapore skills framework. And that will allow you to then see which courses might map to this particular job. Students can then apply for the job if they want to as well, either with their CV or by sharing their OpenLearning profile and by sharing their learning and everything else. And I'll show you how that works. And then we have employers in here as well. So each employer will have their own profile on the platform, and that profile will have information about the company, the culture, the roles, and the skills that they're hiring for. And you'll be able to then get a quick sense of, what skills are each company looking for. And this is useful not just for a student, but also for an education provider, because then you'll be able to see, which skills are in demand across the cohort. You can see the company's office locations as well. I got OpenLearning in 5 countries here now, the open roles, all of that, life and culture, company values, all of that is in there. And then if you go into institutions, then you'll be able to see all of the institutions that have courses and programs on OpenLearning as well that are in the marketplace. And here, you can also get a quick sense of what skills the institutions are really, focusing on or that their courses are covering. And if the institution has multiple portals on OpenLearning, then the platform even handles that. So you can click on it and you can see, University of Science Malaysia. They have 2 sites, one Learning for Life and the other USM MOOC. So you can jump into each of those depending which one you want to take a look at. Now on the last tab is destinations, and destinations showcases all of the locations where courses and programs are run across the marketplace. It aggregates them by state and by country automatically. So you can get a quick sense of, what the global reach of the marketplace is. You can see courses across Malaysia from Terengganu, Pahang, Johor. You got Australia, New South Wales, UK, Namibia, Mozambique, Brunei, Singapore, Manila in the Philippines, Indonesia, Putrajaya, even Canberra, Negeri Sembilan, and Perak. So quite a few, and this is just a subset. There'll be a lot more once all of the courses and programs come in to the marketplace. But if we just click on one of these, say we'll click on Malaysia, so we can get a sense of that. So Malaysia gives you a bit of information about, obviously, Malaysia. You know about it if you're from Malaysia, but a lot of people don't know about each country or each city or state. So this will be really interesting for a lot of people. Then you can see the skills that are in demand in each location based on the jobs that are available in that location as well, and which framework those come from. And then you can see the top employers, the latest jobs, the institutions that are offering courses and programs in that destination, the popular courses on offer and popular programs as well. So what this allows people to do is really just get a sense of what's out there and browse a lot more and go a lot more in depth. So it's quite interesting and quite exciting. I'm going to take you into the admin area just briefly as well, because we have a new brand admin area. And this will provide a whole range of information for setting up and designing your courses and programs. But there's just a couple that I'll touch on. One is the classification system, which allows you to select different courses, select the skills framework that you want to classify your courses against, and then the AI will automatically classify and analyze those courses. So you can see this one, an AI robust assessment aligned to the European skills framework, is automatically mapped to these 10 or so skills coming out of the European skills framework. Data ethics, digital content creation, creatively using digital technologies. So these phrases weren't specifically mentioned in the course, so they may have been, but based on the AI and the topic and the content of the course and marketing materials, it will work out what is the most appropriate skills mapping for those courses. So pretty much you'll go through, the AI will analyze it, and then it'll start filling it in as it completes. So you'll be able to do this for your courses. Some of it will automatically be done for you when you submit and promote your courses as well. So it's a really interesting approach. I selected 50, so it'll go away, do all of its classification, and then come back and populate some of those for us. Maybe we'll come back and take a look. And then when you publish your jobs, so interestingly, education providers obviously are also employers, so you can also publish jobs here. And when people apply for the jobs, you'll be able to see them. Either it can go directly through your applicant tracking system, or it can go through OpenLearning. Now, one of the benefits of this is that we know a lot of universities and colleges have a large network of industry partners who want to promote jobs to those graduates from the university. Now, some of those industry partners may be large employers, have their own teams of people doing it, but others might be local businesses that don't have the systems in place. So this provides everyone with a baseline to make it as easy as possible for you to engage your network and have them post jobs in OpenLearning. When they do post jobs, they can actually align those jobs to courses in the platform, and they can also specify the partner institutions that they're working with. And this will allow people and students to see, this employer is aligned with this university, and that relationship actually stays in the platform. But if people do apply through the platform, then the platform and marketplace will automatically analyze their profile and give you an idea of how well they match the job that you've submitted or you've posted. So I guess I submitted my CV for a particular role, and I guess I'm a 73% match. I guess that's good for me to know. I can see my application. I can also see the courses that I've submitted as well. So I've shared that I've completed these courses, and the employer can see those, and then they can decide what to do with my application. There's also a whole analytics section that will now give you marketplace analytics. on the visibility of your courses and programs right within the marketplace. And there's a lot of information you can now get, so you can trace whether the marketplace is also bringing students to your courses and programs. So that gives you a bit of a sense of what's coming. All of this will be available publicly in the next few weeks as we update it and reach out to all of the institutions to let them know about the new marketplace that's coming soon. So now that gives you a flavor of what's coming and sort of how we're connecting the learning experiences directly to the courses and programs and the employers and the institutions and destinations. Now, next thing I want to share with you is how we're going a step further than that, because that's just the opportunities. Now what we have to do is actually ensure that all of the graduates and students are better prepared and know about these opportunities. So that's why today we're also excited to introduce Employability Advantage, which is a new tool that we've put together, which has a whole range of employability tools for students and analytics for institutions. So it combines things like AI skills matching, career planning, resume building, interview simulation, job board, application tracking, employment analytics, within a single platform right on OpenLearning that institutions can use for all of their students and graduates. So the aim of this is to help increase graduate employability by better preparing the students, but also connecting them directly to those opportunities around the world and showing them what the possibilities are. Now, this also works well with the OpenLearning portfolio, which is automatically generated and stays with the learner their entire life. So they can showcase their courses and programs to the courses and programs they've completed and the evidence of learning from those to potential employers. Now, this portfolio is going to become more important later in the year as we roll out our AI talent search, and employers will be able to directly search the database of portfolios if the students allow them. It's all permission based on what the students and the institution permit. But this will make it really easy for employers to find people based on skills they've developed in courses rather than just based on their resume and CV. So it's going to be quite an exciting development. But what I want to do first is show you a bit of a preview of Employability Advantage. And I've got it open right here. Now, Employability Advantage is actually linked to directly to your institution on OpenLearning. So it's a one-to-one mapping, which means that, let's say you're using OpenLearning as your platform for online degrees or as an LMS, you could then enable this, and then your students, if you want to, you can have access to Employability Advantage. And this portal, what I'm in right now, is actually the student portal. I've already logged into it, but if I wasn't quite logged in, then it would just take me there into the portal, and there I am. So it says, "Welcome back, Adam." Knows who I am. So on the left-hand side, you can see here we actually have 5 sections. We have phase 1 to phase 5: prepare, showcase, apply, progress, and succeed. Now, on the homepage here, for me, there's a bit of a dashboard that shows me, my job readiness score. I may have done everything in here already, so hopefully I'm ready to get a job, but maybe I need more practice. So first step is set up your profile. Now, this can be done by filling in information that's not related to learning at all, or your current learning experience. It could be previous courses or programs you took. It could be internships or work experience or jobs that you've had. And you'll fill in all your details, career preferences, professional summary. You can upload your resume and it'll analyze that and populate all of this based on your resume as well. So you can fill in the details. I uploaded my resume. It's filled in a few things that I've done over the years and my degree programs, different jobs that I've had. I guess you can see all of that on my LinkedIn, so nothing private here. So after you do that, then you go into your career goals, and the career goals allows you to create a career plan using AI. So let's say the job title, maybe I'm looking for a job as a Python developer, into programming. What level? I think I want a graduate role, and let's say I'm in Manila. So I will generate my career plan. And then it will analyze my profile. It'll analyze my intentions, and it'll come back with a career plan aligned to the different things that are inside the platform. So my personalized career plan is ready. So it says polish your profile for graduate roles. I guess my profile is not really designed for being a Python developer just yet. So it gives me some suggestions. It suggests some skills assessments I should do, maybe some courses I should enroll in, and some jobs I can apply for. So as I go through this, I can tick them off and manage my career plan. Now, one of those is actually skills assessments. And in skills assessments, inside Employability Advantage, there's hundreds of skills assessments on in-demand areas, from soft skills through to technical skills, AI, data, manufacturing, immersive tech, data science. So tons and tons of categories here. Quality assurance, IT support, AV production, DevOps. So lots of things here, programming skills, even specific things here, Node.js, ASP, PHP. So, you can click on one of these. When you click on it, you can specify how many questions you want, difficulty level, and then you can start the assessment. And if you achieve, over 90%, then you can get a badge or certificate through here. Now, the AI will also recommend skills assessments to every learner based on their career plan. So, because I've put in Python developer, it's recommended a few. I already attempted a couple. You can see some I didn't do too well on. I could attempt it again. I could pick just 5 questions, make it easy. And then it will come up with the questions. Each learner will get a different set of questions, and they'll be automatically marked and analyzed. Some are multiple choice, some are more programming, where they ask you to write code and things like that, and analyzes the code. So all of that's available. People can do as many as they want. So the idea is that, if a student or graduate's unsure if they're capable in a certain area, they want to test it out, they can do a skills assessment. On top of that, there's also the ability to discover courses directly within Employability Advantage. And the selection of courses is actually customizable by the institution. So you could have it so that it only promotes your courses to your students, or maybe you want to show courses from outside your country, and then for inside your country, just your courses. So you can do things like that as well. And for the learner, it can actually recommend courses for them based on their profile to fill in some of those skills gaps if they didn't do too well in the skills assessment, or if their career plan, requires them to take some extra courses. So obviously said I wanted to be a Python programmer. The first course is recommended is course on Python, and some data analysis course, data visualization using R and Python probably. And then probably some writing skills. I think I need something different there. And I think I've used this tool a few times with different examples. So I've also got a couple other courses there too. Now, after that, the student has done quite a few things to prepare themselves for the role. So now they're ready to work on their resume. And here, these are my existing resumes I've already generated. But you'll notice here there's also the AI resume builder. And this will go through and help them build their resume based on their profile and based on the target role that they're going for. So they want to be a programmer at Google. I can go through, select the style I want in the resume, font size, maybe move things around, and then I can generate it. And then it'll start preparing my resume for me, generate resume. So it'll go through and based on all of that, it'll produce the resume for me. There we go. So it's all done. There's my resume. I can download it as a Word document or a PDF, and then I can modify it. It'll also help the students generate their cover letters as well, right within here. But we'll probably get into that in a second. So there's also a job board inside this platform, and the job board here is a little bit different to the one in the OpenLearning Marketplace. This job board is actually designed to aggregate lots of job sources around the world. So, for example, I'm looking in the Philippines. it's recommended some searches here as well, like Python developer. That's what I said I wanted to be. So it's come up with a recommendation from the career plan. And then you'll notice that there's a range of roles here that's found. Each of these is from a different job site. You can see this one is from JobStreet, Swoop, Remotive, JobStreet. Quite a few. You'll do LinkedIn as well, Insight.com. There'll probably be some from Indeed, depending where people post their jobs. But quite a few actually. Lots of Python roles available in the Philippines at the moment. So if you look at the first one here, this is Accenture, Python developer APIs and automation. Now, if you're not sure if this job is for you as a learner, you can click check suitability. And then what it'll do is it'll actually analyze your resumes. I have 3 resumes here that I've generated now. And it'll look at the job description and it'll see based on that if this is a good fit for you. Looks like it's not a good fit for me. But one of my resumes was better than the others, 43% match. So you can see here, it's analyzed my resume, and then it says, based on that, there's some recommendations. I think I should take some extra courses if I really want to go for this job, or I should do some skills assessments. And these skills assessments will link back to the skills assessment page where I can do those. There's also a few keywords that are actually missing from my resume as well, so I should probably put those in. Because a lot of companies, they do keyword matching and AI matching for resumes, obviously. And it tells me how my different resumes rank. So really useful for the student. I'm going to go back though and let's look at this one again. There's a couple other options here. We've also got simulate interview. So simulate interview is a really easy way to do a mock interview. So you can test your luck on that. And then after you do all of that, you can track your applications, move them around, and once you get the job, then yay, success for the learner. Now on top of that, you can also do graduate surveys as well, like tracer surveys. So the institution can then survey the students, see how they're all going. And there's also really detailed analytics for the institution on how all of their learners are progressing through the job search process. So if I jump into the admin side as an administrator, I can then see, detailed analytics on how all of the students are progressing in their search for jobs, what skills assessments they've done, different resumes they've submitted, things like that. So all of that data is available to the institution, and it gives you a really good sense of how everyone is progressing through the cohort. Now, after that, that's a bit on Employability Advantage. Now I want to share with you a bit of an AI update on some of the things we're doing at OpenLearning and, where it's going from an AI perspective. Now, OpenLearning's approach to learning design has been consistent for many years since we started the company. We've refined how we're able to achieve it, and now thankfully we have AI. But our focus has always been on being able to enable educators to create learning experiences that produce unique evidence of learning that's automatically captured in the outcome-based assessment system. Now, this is aligned to the sort of approach and principles of social learning, social constructivism, active learning. And really, we want people and students to have a great experience where they draw upon their previous knowledge, they learn with and through others, and they construct things as they go. Now, this has been around for many decades, this approach, but the greatest challenges have always been actually designing learning materials this way, because you need lots of smaller activities rather than just a single, capstone project or final assessment. So designing all that takes a lot of time. Then assessing it and creating outcomes and rubrics and all that takes a lot of time. The alignment takes a lot of time. So the great thing is we've been able to try and optimize that as much as possible within OpenLearning, but now with AI, we're able to go much further. And the tools that we've rolled out are now enabling people to build courses that align to outcomes and produce a lot more unique evidence of learning. So just to share with you, some of the data on how people have been using AI at OpenLearning so far. We have a whole range of tools in the platform that we rolled out over the past few years. And the usage of these has been growing, both as more people adopt the platform, but also as more people utilize these AI tools within their courses, and as we roll out more of them as well. The tools are getting better and more of them are coming. So obviously that will drive up usage. And we can see the number of tokens used are quite significant and growing as well. Now, most of this is across our user base of institutions from Malaysia, Philippines, India, Indonesia, and Australia. So it's really interesting and exciting to see that people are using and getting a lot of value out of these tools. Now, one of the challenges, though, is that we know that obviously students use AI as well. And although there are some things that we are working on in that area, we really think it goes back to ensuring that people are well motivated and that learners have that motivation when they come into the course. Now, it can be challenging for people who are taking a course for the first time to stay motivated, but I think it's our job as educators to inspire the students and to encourage more intrinsic motivation so that people really understand the value of learning, they appreciate the challenge, and they like that sense of achievement. They're naturally curious. So the focus here, I think, is that if we try and do too much extrinsic motivation, like maybe we have in the past, where we say, okay, you have to complete this course, a degree, otherwise you won't be able to get a job, then the focus just becomes on completion, and people just see it as, how do I complete the easiest way possible and get the highest mark? It doesn't matter if I learned anything. The problem with that we're seeing now is that, with AI, people don't have to learn anything and they can still complete it, and we can't detect whether they've done the work or not. So unless the students are intrinsically motivated, they're not going to be able to learn anything. And I think we'll start seeing that. So intrinsic motivation is becoming more and more important, and being able to design learning experiences that engage and intrinsically motivate students is becoming very important as well. Now, one of the ways that we've been supporting educators in doing this is through the AI Course Builder, which has now been out for probably almost 18 months or 2 years now. And we're seeing more and more people build courses using it and different components of it. So the idea of the Course Builder is to go from course objective through to outcomes, course structure, and module structure. At each step of the way, you can choose your preferred learning styles and approaches. You can select from Bloom's taxonomy and Solo taxonomy when designing the outcomes. You can use things like backward design and other frameworks when you're structuring the course. And when you're producing module content, you can choose from things like problem and project-based learning, the ADDIE model, Gagne's 9 forces of instruction, and many others. So this really brings the learning sciences to the fore and makes it really easy for educators to implement that right within the platform. Now, when you're developing courses, developing a course is like, I guess writing a book or writing a story sometimes, right? It needs to flow. And keeping that flow in your head or in a plan is something that, it took a lot of work before. You had to plan everything out, make changes and all of that. The Course Builder is doing that internally. It's coming up with its own mind map of how the course is structured, how things fit together. So that way, when you review each step of the way, you can push it in the right direction. But also, when you generate the content, it knows what was done a couple modules ago or a few pages ago. And that makes the course flow a lot better as well. So the platform will enable you to generate all of that, handle constructive alignment, and map it all to outcomes as well. Now, once you have your course, then you're able to really easily facilitate that course, engage the community, and we have a whole range of tools in our AI assistant to make this possible, where you can select from different learning facilitation approaches, give feedback to students, and really connect students together. The aim of the facilitation tools in open learning with AI is to increase engagement between students. It's not a chatbot where students ask questions about the course. You can definitely have those and find those and integrate those. But our focus is on how do you get students talking to each other. And the facilitator as a person is really key to that. And the person can be supported by AI, but not replaced by it. Now, when you're providing feedback to students, the AI assistant can also analyze the student's work, the context it was created in, the activities and assignments, and generate really relevant feedback for that learner based on what they've done and the outcomes of that topic and course. You can also obviously handle reflection within there and make it as easy as possible for people to share their work and engage with each other. So these tools are already available in the platform, and it's been really exciting to see that a lot of educators are starting to adopt them, either for building their course or providing feedback to students. We've also recently rolled out a whole range of tools around quizzes and question banks as well. So you can now use AI to generate those. And there's lots of different types of quizzes you can produce, from role play quizzes to reinforcement learning, scenario-based quizzes. So not just your typical question set. There's a lot more to it than that. So we have a whole range of things that we've released at OpenLearning. And I wanted to just give you a brief overview of where it's going. So we've really focused on building AI tools that implement best practices in learning design. And some of the new things that we've been working on this year, one of those is AI skills taxonomy mapping, which I shared briefly as part of the marketplace, which everyone will be able to use as an institution. We've also released this year automatic grading of coding assignments. So people can submit their code in their courses and run it against unit tests, and that gets analyzed and can go into the assessment system and works across, pretty much all the programming languages that I'm aware of and lots of others that not. So that's now available, and you're able to use that in the platform and play around with that. And the third one that we are going to be sharing with you today is around AI assessment and rubric generation, where the platform will be able to help you generate rubrics for outcome-based assessment really easily and efficiently. But we have a lot more coming up this year, including AI personalized exam questions, course analytics, and grading and student assignments. So, a lot coming. And with that, I'd like to introduce David Kaldian, who is the founder and CTO of OpenLearning, and has both an education and technology background, and will be able to share a bit more about this with you. So thank you very much, and over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yeah, I think that I would like to perhaps give you a little bit of a look at the LMS live. I'm just going to share my screen. Um, get this set up for us. Okay, let's get this aligned. All right. How's that looking? There we go. Hopefully you can see my screen there. So this is what the LMS part of Open Learning looks like. Adam's gone over the new tools that we've been putting out there, which is on the marketplace and the employability side. And then in the middle, you have the Open Learning LMS, which is the core platform that we started with. And it's an AI first platform, as Adam mentioned, where you can build courses with these constructive experiences so that open learning is not just a content delivery platform, but it's a platform that allows you to design the end-to-end learner experience where everything that the learner does is tracked and aligned by outcome. So this outcome-based approach to education is really important to us. And you'll see that on every page of this course, for example, we have these tags at the top here because in open learning, these tags represent the actual learning outcomes of the course. And everything within the course, whether it's a page of content, whether it's an activity that the learner is doing, and the evidence that they produce from doing that activity, all of that is aligned back to learning outcomes. And these learning outcomes can then be aligned to program level outcomes in the future, or all sorts of different ways that you can roll down and report on exactly what the learner is using is exactly what the learner is learning and how that aligns to particular learning outcomes based on their portfolio of work that they've done throughout a course. Now, this course here is one that I have actually put together just yesterday by using the course builder tools that Adam was mentioning just previously. So if I look in here at our course design course builder, our course builder is this tool that allows you to go through from the overall course objective, which is what is this course actually about? allow you to design the top-down learning outcomes for this course and define those tags that I mentioned. And then also go through and build out the structure for this course. This course that I'm looking at here has 3 modules, and you can see that the first module has this topic breakdown and aligns to these outcomes. And the second module has, covers this and these topics and has this breakdown of outcomes. And the last one, which is, I think, focusing on a project, goes through and covers these topics and is aligned to these outcomes. And this was all generated by our AI tool, which can suggest modules based on those educational patterns that come from the learning sciences. So, for example, when I'm designing module content, I can choose how I want my course structure to be designed. I can say, well, I want to start with the evidence that I want to see from the course, which is called backward design, or I want to perhaps outline the different competencies that I wish the learner to be able to demonstrate at the end of the course, or perhaps I want to base it around particular themes or subjects, or there's also other ways that you can sort of spiral around, or have curriculums that you've pre-prepared, and the AI can ingest all of that and come up with a suggested course structure for you. And you can put as much or as little input into this as you wish. If you want to just see what it comes up with of its own, you can do that. Or if you have a PDF document that you want to upload, which you've already pre-prepared everything, and you want to just get the AI to build the course for you, you can do that as well, and everything in between. So that's how this AI course builder works. And it at the outcomes level, you have a whole bunch of other different ways that you can generate outcomes aligning to different focus that you might want to have for the course, whether it's social emotional learning outcomes, whether it's Bloom's taxonomy outcomes, whether it's some sort of experiential learning outcomes. There's lots of different ways that you can explore and find out which outcomes best suit your course. And then when it comes down to the actual content of the module, we can break each of these modules into pages, and the AI can actually generate activities and content itself and suggest how to put the actual activities together for a course. And when it all comes together, what it looks like is this course, which is only a small toy course for demonstration purposes, but you can imagine that you could flesh this out into a very large or small course of any size which you like, very, very quickly, and be able to get the skeleton out and done and start actually focusing on where you need to put your energy into making it a great learning experience. And it's really powerful at doing that. And you can see that throughout this course, if I go through this course page by page, everything's aligned to the outcomes. But we have activities that are sort of interspersed throughout a lot of the content. So as the learner's going through the course and going through the content, they're collecting works of evidence as they go. And these are either artifacts that are assessed later on by the teacher as part of a portfolio of work, which I'm going to demonstrate in a minute, or they can also be viewed by the if I change to a class which has some sample submissions in it, you can see here that this test uses submissions. I've only put placeholder information in for now, but you can see that you can share with the class, comment on each other's work, uh, and uh, and this all becomes part of the community of practice that learners experience. And we found that community is one of the biggest motivators for that intrinsic motivation that Adam was talking about earlier. Having the people around you doing the course with you and being part of that community has a lot of sort of social proofing around the motivational aspects of learning. So not only can you use the course builder to put together the structure and put together a course very, very quickly, but you can also use it to refine the content on a page. So, for example, this welcome page to the course, it was generated by going down to the bottom here and just adding content to the page itself. I could add activities, I could add quizzes, or I can add all sorts of different types of content. And you'll see that there's a plethora of different uh, content templates that you can choose from so that you can tell the AI course builder exactly what sort of content you're looking for, and it knows how to um, generate all of these things in a way that sort of foundation has a foundation in various learning science practices. So um, this is how easy it is to sort of put additional content onto pages, add activities to the course, and then once you've actually put it into the course, everything here is obviously editable, and you can drag new widgets into the course and customize it however you like as well. And even sort of suggest changes to the content that you've put in yourself as well. And then everything's tracked for completion. Everything's tracked for as to what learners have produced and how those align to the outcomes in the course. And then what we can do now is for each of those activities. So, for example, here if I go to one of these pages which has multiple activities on it, this one's a reading, and then we go to the next page which has the actual activities. Each of these activities that the learner produces throughout the course uh, goes into a portfolio automatically. And then now what the challenge is, well, how do we assess those? And traditionally, we'd have to go through and find all of the activities throughout the course, work out how we want to aggregate those and put them into a report, work out how we want to structure that report and when we want to assess it and the timing that we want to go through. Um, and then hand roll an assessment essentially out of all the things collected throughout the course, and that was quite a time consuming process. So what we've now put together, and I can sort of demonstrate a preview of, we haven't released this yet, but as we're still putting the final polish on it, but what we have started to work on is in our assessment down here in the grade book. I can add a grade item to the course, choose that I want to report on the outcomes throughout the course, and then I can build, using this new AI tool, uh, a full assessment. I can design a full assessment essentially for the course. For example, in this course, I've structured it such that um, the first two modules have a bunch of activities throughout them. This last activity on the second module has a mini project, and then this last module has a larger project on the last page of the module. So there's lots of activities speckled throughout the course, plus a mini project and a major project. And what I can do is when I go into the gradebook, I can set up a report for each of those. So each of those is an assessment, essentially. I can set up a report for the overall course portfolio. Um, and that course portfolio, um, I'll select an analytic rubric for that. There's lots of different rubrics you can try and explore to see the different approaches you might want to use for your assessment. Um, and I can select which outcomes I'm interested in including in this report. Because this is a course portfolio and it is assessing everything over the course, I'm going to select all the learning outcomes. And I can enter a description here. Now, this is the publicly visible description. This is what the learners see as well. But if I don't feel like that, I can get the AI to fill that in for me. So I can check that box to get the AI to fill it in for me. And then I can just say what my goal of this assessment is. And I say this assessment is to evaluate a portfolio of work from activities throughout the course. And I'll also need to work out how I want to grade it. So we can support all sorts of different grading schemas. So we can put things into different bands. So you might be familiar with different band structures depending on which region you're used to teaching in. But where I went to university, you always had like a high distinction, which was sort of a range from about 85 to 100, and then you would have like a distinction under that, and then a credit under that, and that sort of stuff. So you can actually define what bands you have for your assessment, or you could just have simple categories that you want to assess things in. You could also just say, "Hey, I just want to score everything." That's fine. We can just do a simple scoring. Or if you're in a competency-based course, you could also just say, "I just care if the outcome's met or not, whether it's yes or no, whether it's pass or fail, whether it's competent or not competent," and I can put those labels in here as well. So this is how I can set up uh, the assessment. For this one, I can just do uh, I might fill out the bands for this one. It's quite interesting to see. It'll just take me a second to put the bands in. Um, and the next category will be 84, I think. Oh, I'll just cancel that one for a second. Um, do that again. Uh, we'll make this one like 85%. Make this one 75%. We'll make this one 65%. We'll make one for pass, which is 50%, and then not competent, which is anything under that. Okay. So now I can select that grading schema that I just put together for this course. And the next step is that I can select from the course which activities I'm actually interested in assessing in this report. So for this report, you'll see that there's all the activities in the course are listed out here for me. And for this one, I don't actually want the final project, which is these two activity posts. That one was the project plan and the project submission. And also in the second module, there's another project plan and project submission for the mini project. So I'll remove those from the list because I want this assessment to be everything else in the course. And I can then have those 11 activities supported, and then I can click the generate button and it will generate an outcomes report for me. Now, this takes a little bit of time because it's doing quite a lot of processing in the background. So while it's working, I'll show you one. Here's one I prepared earlier. Um, so go back to the grade book. Here's one I prepared earlier. And this is what it generated. So this one generated the course portfolio. It gave me a very long description as to what this was. I could probably refine this down to something a bit shorter if I wanted to. And then when I set up this course portfolio, you can see that it's populated it with all the different evaluation criteria, as well as weighting them and aligning that to all the different evidence that I have. So, for example, the first outcome, analyze everyday examples of social influence, is evaluated by several criteria. These 5 criteria here, which each have a different weight, and it's put all this together for itself by analyzing the course. And then it's decided to grade these by bands. I put bands in here for the grading schema when I produced this earlier. And then you can see the exact activities that it's decided to focus on, which is these activities here, which are aligned to the outcome that it's being assessed. So, and those are the activities that it's going to be assessing according to that criteria. And then this criterion, which is about the depth of analysis of psychological influence and impact, it's selected another set of activities. And we can go through here and see that there's different sets of activities that are populating the evidence for each of these criteria for this portfolio assessment. And it's put all of this together for me automatically. And now, as an assessor, now that this is all put together, I can just go in and assess this test user's portfolio. And you can see here that it's put together all of this automatically for me so that I can just go through and, as an assessor, and be like, okay, I want to look at this learner's work. And then I want to go through and decide what grade to give each of these criteria, and I can just go through and grade it because it's put the whole report to get together for me as to how I would like to assess these activities, and it puts together this all automatically. Now, what I've also done here is I've created two other reports, like I mentioned before, one for the week two project and one for the week three project, and it set them up automatically for me as well. So if I see how this one's set up, it focuses on this outcome here, which is design and implement a simple environmental nudge. That's the main outcome that this project is aligned to. So it only assesses this outcome and it assesses the criteria under this. And the evidence that was selected for this was just the project for module two, the project plan and the project submission, which then when you go through and assess this one, I'm going to assess week two project, you'll see that the project plan and the project submission here are coming up, and I can assess the project according to the criteria that have been automatically prepared for me. And of course, I don't have to accept what was automatically prepared. I can always go in and adjust it myself and use it just as a draft or a starting point, and I can customize this however I like. But this really does speed up the first pass of trying to put the structure together for designing a rubric or designing an assessment so that I can focus on refining and making this exactly the the um, the criteria that I want to use to evaluate against. Rather than having to start from scratch, which can often be a little daunting sometimes or very time consuming to set all of this up. And of course, this also is the same as all our other AI tools, where you can give it as little or as much as you want in terms of assistance. So you can, for this one, I've just let it analyze the course itself. It's gone through and analyzed all the activities, it's analyzed all the outcomes, and it's aligned everything together and worked out the right weights and the right criteria to assess this project. But I could also plan all that out myself, and I can put all that in a document, and I can upload the document and give it to this AI. And it will also just set the course up with those criteria and set the assessment up with those criteria as well. So it's very flexible. You can give it as little or as much as you want. And it's a great time saver in being able to automate the assessment setup process and be able to set up assessments really quickly in your course. So this is the new AI assessment builder that we've been working on. And we're just doing the final polish on this, and we'll be having it released sometime imminently. So we're really excited about that and the time that this will save for educators setting up assessment in their courses. And this, again, um, uh, goes back to how open learning is very much at its heart an outcomes tracking and alignment system. So all of the work that you're doing within your uh, your course, all of that evidence is tracked by outcome, assessed by outcome. You can get reports by outcome, and you can say, how well does each student demonstrate each of these outcomes as an overall report, and then align those and roll those up into higher level outcomes. We're also doing work around categorizing those outcomes even deeper so you can have different levels of outcome, as well as having higher levels of outcome within your institution as well, like program level outcomes or even higher graduate attributes or institution level outcomes. So there's a lot of that reporting and alignment work that we're doing built into the system, and it all comes essentially from this assessment system at its core, where you can assess both portfolio artifacts across all the activities in the course holistically and have a whole portfolio that you put together as an assessment, or you can assess individual projects as reports as well, or mix and match. You can have a portfolio for the first half of your course that you assess halfway through the course, and then a second portfolio for the second half of the course. You can choose, and the AI will let you set up all of these different styles and ways of doing assessments automatically for you and help you choose all the right criteria and weights and assigning all the right activities to the right criteria. So that's essentially the tool that we've created, and we'll be putting out there over the next couple of weeks as we polish it up. So I hope you enjoyed that sneak preview of our new AI assessment system. Might hand it back to you then, Adam.
Thanks, David. And we've just got a couple of questions. I think we have a few minutes here. Um, there's a couple of questions in the chat on whether it can handle different types of grading for different levels of learner capability rather than numerical divisions.
Right, yeah. So I glossed over that a little bit. But as if we put together one of these, you'll see that we have lots of different type of grading schemas here. So we have bands that you can put together, which each have a range in terms of the score for that band, and then you can have that as a numerical thing, or you can have just basic categories where you say, if you're in, you just have to bucket the grade for each submission that comes in. So you can say this is an A, B, or C. Um, and it will automatically assign a grade based on whether you how you categorize it. Or you can just have a simple score, which is just give it a numeric score, or you can have the two option binary as well, which is just two categories: yes or no, pass, fail, competent or not competent. So you can choose which style of whether it's bands, whether it's categories, whether it's numeric, whether it's a binary option. You can create these grading schemas for your course, and you can have one or more of these grading schemas that you use throughout your course. So you can give it just a simple categorization grading scheme, and that will can be used throughout the course to assess every item. Or you could have a categories mixed with a binary, mixed with a score, and it will choose which one it wants to use at any point throughout the design of the assessment. So yeah, you have ultimate flexibility there.
Great, thanks, David. And then just another question here on whether the AI assessment builder will produce the same result every time, or is it random, or what's the level of consistency it will
Yeah,
give you?
it will not give you the same every time. Just like with all AI systems, there is an element of randomness. They are probabilistic and random systems. They're not deterministic in their nature. So each time you generate, you're essentially, rolling dice and seeing and reseeding it and seeing what you get this time round. It will be very similar with the same inputs. It will be very similar each time with exactly the same inputs. But if you tweak the inputs, if you give it slightly different inputs, you give it slightly different nudge in a different direction, you might start to get very different assessments that it generates. So you will have to experiment with it and see. You can always rerun these and until you find the combination that works for you and the right prompting that works for you.
Great. And then one last question from Kariana. Within the rubric, which where is guidance for the teacher to grade the students, is it shared amongst the students? Because in evaluating social constructivism, how you guide the student is also something to consider.
Yes, we're still putting the final polish on that for grade descriptors, as we call them. I believe we should have an option, yeah, absolutely, to show whether or not the grade descriptors are shown to the learner or not, because there's different scenarios where you may want um, uh, it to have complete transparency about how what's expected of them and how they're going to be assessed. And then then there's also private instruction for just like private instruction for the assessor to see, for them to have instruction from the for if you have multiple assessors, that gives you consistency of instruction for the assessors. So we need both essentially, and we'll be supporting both. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, David. Really exciting to see how far things are going. And this is just the first phase of the new AI assessment tools that we're rolling out. And we can't wait to make these available to everyone so that you can test them out yourselves and give us feedback on how well they're working for you. So thanks so much, David.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'd like to move into our panel session on AI skills and the future of learning. And for that, I'd like to welcome our guests. So please join us here. Let me stop sharing. Great. So thank you so much for joining us today. Let me introduce our esteemed panelists. So this panel discussion, we have about an hour or so. And what we'll be doing is just doing a couple of short introductions. We'll have a bit of a discussion and a Q&A. It's going to be a free-flowing discussion. So, feel free for the audience to share questions or comments in the chat as well. And I'll try and pick up on them as we go. Now, just to get started, let me introduce everyone we've got here. So I'm really excited, joined by Dr. Nurbiha, the director from the Center of Advancement in Digital and Flexible Learning at University Technology Malaysia. Thank you for joining us here today. We have Glenn Campbell, the CEO of the college at Western Sydney University in Australia. And we've got Kamal from the University Polytech Malaysia. Kamal's the director of ICT, joining us, I think, from KL probably as well. And then we're joined by Benj from the CEO of Disrupt IT, I think joining us from the Philippines, and also the president of the Australian-New Zealand Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. So we actually have, 3 countries covered, probably 4 cities, I think. And only about an hour to cover quite a few topics. So I think we'll have quite a nice free-flowing discussion. So, I think what's interesting in the world today is that we have these sort of multiple challenges confronting us at the same time. And as educators and as, participants in industry and education system, we're all being buffeted by them, but almost simultaneously. If you just look back 5 or 10 years ago at the sort of things that we were challenged with as education institutions or as companies, they seemed a bit more mundane than today. Some of the things that we're working through today seem a bit existential in a way, in the sense that we have obviously AI impacting the way in which we design, deliver, educate people. It's also impacting people's lives overall in how their current roles are designed, their current jobs are undertaken. It's impacting people's futures because they're not sure what jobs will be available, but they're going to have to adapt very quickly. But then the education system itself, the ways in which we designed assessment and educated people, and the tools that we had to ensure people were learning and achieving the outcomes have all had to change as well. So there's a huge, I think, significant amount of change going on in the world at the moment. I think we're all trying to do our best to navigate it. But what's exciting here today is amongst this panel, we have people at the forefront of all of this, people from industry, people from the university sector, from education, both on implementation, education, connecting with industry. So I might now turn it over and let each of the panelists introduce themselves briefly. So maybe starting with you, Dr. Nurbiha. Welcome and
Hi, Adam. Hi, everyone. So thank you, Open Learning, for having me here today. So I am Nurbiha from University Technology Malaysia, and my area of expertise is educational technology, online learning, as well as learning analytics. And in my current role as a director of Center for Advancement in Digital Learning, we are responsible in coordinating teaching and learning at the university. That includes as well in increasing the awareness on the use of AI in teaching and learning, and assisting our academics on how they can make full use of AI for teaching and learning. I think that is a bit introduction from me. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Over to you, Glenn.
Thanks, Adam. Glenn Campbell. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the college at Western Sydney University. The college is a wholly owned entity of the university, and we have 3 parts to the college. The largest part is our programs to expand access to higher education to non-traditional groups, particularly in Western Sydney. We also run a business-to-business customized executive learning program and short courses as well. So quite broad, but one of the common threads through all of that is, of course, how we prepare people for the world of work that is today.
Thanks, Glenn. Kamal, welcome.
Hello, hi, I'm Kamal. I'm the Director of ICT at University Polytech Malaysia. I'm currently the Director of ICT. I'm leading the digital transformation of implementing the digital transformation in UPTM. And one of the pillars of digital transformation is enhancing teaching and learning. So currently, I'm in the midst of increasing the adoption of AI within the lecturers, the staff, and the students. So with this adoption, we hope that the usage of AI will be increased within UPTM. Thank you.
Thank you. Benj, welcome.
Thanks, Adam, and thanks to the Open Learning team for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Benj Romualdez. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Disrupt IT. I'm also the President of the Australian-New Zealand Chamber of Commerce here in the Philippines. Disrupt IT is a technology consulting company. What we do is we help our clients, understand their technology stacks, find the problem statements that matter most, and guide and lead our clients to solutions that create the most meaningful business outcomes. Part of what we do is also working with the education sector. We built a cybersecurity lab in one of the universities near Manila, and we're also about to open an AI lab as well.
Great. And we look forward to your perspective as an industry and also employer and in the IT space. I think with AI, we all wonder about the changes occurring as well. So maybe we'll start off with the adoption of AI amongst sort of the faculty and the staff, because I think it's always an interesting area. How quickly do people take to new technologies, and what training do we need to provide? And is it training or is it motivation, or are they really motivated and we actually have to pull them back a bit? So maybe Glenn, do you want to kick us off, and then we'll probably go to Nabiha.
Yeah, it is actually a bit of both. I think, one of the things that's most critical for us is, of course, that for students, one of the big reasons they come to a university is to prepare themselves for work. And the reality is they'll be using AI, they'll be interfacing with AI at work. So we've got to help our students understand how to use that responsibly. And to do that, we have to start that with our staff. And so there's a variety of ways that we go about that, but part of it is around, that it's okay to be using it because we have to, but it's about how you use it quite responsibly and how we then roll that out.
Yeah, good point. Nabiha, how are you seeing things at UTM?
We recently had a survey on the level of awareness among academics on the use of AI. However, when you talk about awareness, there are many aspects of it. So, for example, awareness covers their knowledge about AI, the skills and competency on AI, the ethics on AI, as well as their belief about how AI can be beneficial for them. And within this area of investigation, we found out that in terms of skills and competence, our academics are somehow competent. More than 80% are somehow competent. However, in terms of actually knowledge about AI, it is not so much. This means to say that, for example, when they get a feedback, for example, from generative AI, they tend to accept them blindly, and the process of making due diligence in interpreting the information that they get from AI, that is still lacking among the academics. And I think it's very important for us when we talk about adoption of AI, we have to understand first at what level their awareness is. Skills can be competent, because I think learning how to prompt, that can be easily acquired from many sources. However, among academics, for example, teaching their students about what AI is, that is also still lacking among our academics. So these are the things that we think we have to focus on specific area on AI adoption, not to focus more on skills nowadays, but we focus more on the knowledge about AI itself, because the skills that they acquire in using AI is somehow that they can acquire that from so many sources, but the importance of understanding the fundamentals of what AI is still lacking. So we are planning to focus on this more among academics, among our academics, especially from those who are not from the computer science and mathematics background. So they have not so much of awareness and knowledge on this. So that would be I think, the current scenario of our institution, I mean, in UTM in specific.
Thanks. That's quite interesting, actually. So, one of the things you mentioned is that many are accepting or they may be accepting what AI brings back. And I think this is a challenge, right? Because in one sense, we're trying to teach the students that you shouldn't accept everything that AI brings back, but maybe some of us are guilty of that as well. We kind of accept it. And I'm interested to hear, Kamal, from your perspective. It sounds like you're leading the digital transformation at UPTM. How are you encountering these kind of challenges?
Right now, we are doing it both ways. For example, in terms of so what we do is that in educating the students, because students have to be educated as well. However, this role cannot be done by their own respective lecturer. So what we do is that, although our curriculum nowadays, I think among the mandate from Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia as well, is to integrate AI in our academic program and curriculum. Although we have done that at university level, but not many lecturers can deliver this within their courses. So what we do is that we have to centralize the educating the students on AI literacy, and that cannot be done by everyone. It has to be done by a very specific people who are very knowledgeable and specialists in that area. And educating the academics, on the other hand, is also being break down into several areas. As I said just now, educating educators on AI is divided into AI knowledge, pedagogical knowledge on AI, the ethics of AI, AI competence and skills, and AI self-efficacy. So we divide our training in such areas, so that academics also can choose which one is more fitting to the current level of understanding about AI. So that's how we are planning to move forward in terms of AI awareness among our academics and students in university.
If I can just add a little bit onto that. I think one of the things that we've done here, and we did probably a good 18 months ago, was to encourage staff to play around with the tools that we had within the university, and also encouraging people to use AI for things they already knew. So as an example, when I was looking at doing a wider research piece, I wanted to find some large scope of industry relevant reports on a particular topic. Now, I knew I had a good seminal piece on this area, and so I put that report in, which I know backwards. And it's getting a bit old. When I say it's getting a bit old, it was from 2021. And these days, 2021, times change fast. But I put that report in and I asked it for salient questions, and it came back with pretty much exactly what that report had said. So I was quite good. So that was quite good. But I'd created my own agent to do that, and that gave me a level of confidence that when I use it in future, I know it's for that particular type of exercise, it's going to produce a reasonably good result. And so they're the types of things that we've actually been encouraging our staff to do. So with our learning designers, to get to, if it's about generating images related to text, to do that on things that they're actually already familiar with first, so that they get a sense of how either the agent they've created works, or how the generic tool is working, and to start to share that within a community of practice. From there, we've then gone into a period of which we're now just rolling out, of more detailed training around governance, ethics, responsible use, shortfalls, benefits, where it best fits, where it doesn't fit. And we've done that both across our teaching and academic, but also our non-academic workforce. And so for us, it's been, for at least for me, I think that was quite a worthwhile step to get people to just play around with it first, before we actually looked at how do we deploy it within the workforce.
A good idea.
One,
Kamal, how are
yeah.
you seeing things?
Okay, one of the things that we look for is on the data sovereignty and ethical governance. So, as the IT director, data privacy is a primary concern. Many institutions rush to adopt public AI tools without realizing they might be feeding proprietary institutional data or private student assignments into public models. Balancing rapid innovation with strict data security and compliance, such as PDPA, is a major tightrope. So we have to see from that angle of data security as well, because you want to post all your assignments, or there may be some leakages. So you have to ensure that when you use the software, it has to be something that is legalized. Don't use something that is not illegal, and that's why we provide institutional sandbox for them to actually do the testing as well. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Benj, I'd like to get your perspective from the industry. I guess you're working on AI projects as well at many organizations.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I think just to answer your question earlier about the motivations, right? What we're seeing is that students and candidates, people that are coming fresh out of university, are very motivated to use AI. They see the benefits. They've already played around with it, right? But there's still a lot of conversation happening about whether AI is a threat or not. And we see that in the education space. We see that in in industry, right? And I think those conversations are what's hampering adoption a little bit, right? Or even hampering people just getting to use it. So the faster we can turn the conversation from threat to how or to benefit, I think we'll be if that happens, you'll see much a faster rate of adoption, right? Now from that, right, what we see is that people often get frustrated with AI because they're not starting at the right place. AI is one of those things where you get what you put in, right? So not many people realize that you need to have really good data sets for the AI to analyze or to work with, right? You have to start with really good problem statements. And so if you don't have that, and then for the average person that uses generative AI, it's kind of like starting with a really good prompt. If your prompt isn't any good, then you're not going to get a great result. And so companies often get frustrated or stuck with the implementation or the adoption because they're not starting out in the best place they possibly can.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I think there's been some discussion probably in the press actually, and in The Economist and a few other publications around the return on investment for AI. Some people are saying that actually they're not seeing the return yet, whereas others are seeing substantial return. And I guess this probably goes to the changes that are occurring in the workforce. And I'm interested in what everyone is seeing in that regard. In some areas, we've seen that certain graduate programs for students are being canceled. But other commentary suggesting it's actually not because of AI, it's actually because of other factors like work from home or interest rates, things like that. So I'm curious to see what you're seeing in the workforce, maybe continuing with you, Benj, briefly, and then I'd be interested to hear, from Glenn on some of the things, there's some things they're seeing in the community as well in terms of the graduate recruitment and the job market overall.
I think there can absolutely be a return on investment in AI, right? And but the same way, there can also not be a return on investment. It really determines, or what really determines that is, what you're investing it in for what purpose, right? There are very small investments that you can make in AI that will give you very big returns. Creating AI agents, for instance, to remove the administrative tasks. You can potentially remove thousands and thousands of hours of low level work. Now the return there comes from reutilizing those hours for something a lot more meaningful. And so finding the work that fits for the talent is where that investment needs to go. And because you're thinking about talent, you need to think kind of long term about what talent you want in your company, where you get that talent, and what skills you want to bring in. So I don't think it's a return. It's not a transactional return. It's really a very strategic long-term play.
Yeah. Look, for us, there's probably one overarching piece, which is around what I really describe as a human-led AI approach. So where we're using AI, it's not having that as a, if you like, an end-to-end piece or a project in and of itself. It's using AI to assist and be guided by humans. And I'll give you two examples. So one of the challenges that we have, and we have campuses here across Western Sydney. We have a campus in Surabaya, and also in Ho Chi Minh, so in Vietnam, and soon to be one in India. For our students, we know that they're studying at different times. Even in Sydney, they might be studying at 2 a.m. And if they've got a question and they want that answered, that's not something that we can actually realistically afford to do with humans. But by starting to, which we're working through this at the moment, creating a chatbot or a series of chatbots that focus in on different types of common questions that students are asking, and that's available for them at any time of the day. That's a really great usage piece, because we're now able to answer some of the question, not everything, but we can answer some of those questions when the student wants that answer, rather than when we can actually staff that answer. So that's one really good piece where, again, there's a clear ROI for us on that. It's something we couldn't do in the past. We now can. Students become happier. The other one, and I know Adam and I have talked about this in the past, is how we can use AI to start to reduce the cost of building courses, and also get new courses to market quicker. And we're starting this in a pilot in our non-accredited short courses, where we're really looking at how much we can, one, reduce the cost, how much more we can get short courses to market faster, how can we change them, particularly on hot topics, in a quicker fashion. But it's not about just allowing AI to do it. It's about setting those guide rails. So, and we've been piloting this, and we're taking it longer in our pilot. Once we've done that pilot, we can start, and we feel more confident, we can let the reins go. But certainly we're looking at a massive saving in terms of cost, which is a great ROI return for us, in being able to reduce by more than 50% the time that we put in that learning design stage. Now, we're not looking at this as a way of reducing our workforce. Rather, enabling our staff to focus in, particularly our learning designers, if I focus on that bit, to enable them to focus in on the skills that they're really good at. Working with our academics to ensure to set what are our learning objectives, what are the types of content we want to create, what's the learning design, what's the visual effect going to look like, doing QA checks from both of those perspectives before we publish. We're very confident we can reduce the price by more than 50%, if not even greater. So once we've done that in a non-accredited space, we'll then look at, okay, how do we do this in an accredited space, particularly where there is an absolute need to be longer, more intense programs, but higher level of assurance that's required. They're just two of the examples of what we're doing from a student facing perspective, and with clear benefits.
Yeah, it's a great point, Glenn, actually, because it's interesting. I think when we think of like learning design, the amount of time it used to take to build a full course and even an accredited course, you're talking months,
Yep.
right?
And for an accredited course, yeah, even longer, 6 to 9 months. So if you can reduce that time, it's, you know, one of the difficulties that we have in a university on, say, producing content on, I don't know, something like an AI course, or even embedding AI throughout the curriculum, is that it changes so fast. And when it takes a university 6 months to create a course, or 9 months to actually create the course, even longer to gain an approval process, by the time you get through your approval process and your creation, your content's out of date. So how do you speed that up?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because, you know, that treatment, you know, having a learning designer involved in the course development is not something that previously we could afford to do for most of the courses. It becomes a subset of the courses you can put a lot of effort into because they're high value. Now you can lift the quality across a much wider range of courses. And I guess that sort of speaks to, you know, I guess the productivity of AI in the sense that it saves us time, but actually gives us more work to do because now there's actually more things we can do with it more efficiently. So we realize actually these learning designers could be utilized to develop a far wider range of courses. So quite interesting. Nabiha, did something you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I think from the point of view of a university, for example, or higher education institution, other than, for example, assisting in content generation, we look at investment on AI as more of a return on values. So among the things that we found that it is worth investing for AI is because AI assists us in decision making. So with the AI services, for example, we are able to predict, for example, students' performance. So this is very important. Usually we take about 3 days to consolidate, to discuss on how can we improve and who are at risk of dropping out. So this kind of prediction can be done by AI. So it saves us a lot of time in decision making, and it gives us more time for our lecturers to can quickly intervene these students who are at risk of dropping out. So in terms of, for example, we have open and distance learning program, which is an academic program that is offered entirely online. For academic programs such as this, in which we don't see that students in face-to-face mode, having a prediction tools that is based on decision making made by AI is very important for us to support our learners who are from distance, because we cannot assist them entirely. So this has, I think, provide more values to our program, because we have these AI services that help us to advise both teachers as well as students about their current progress in learning, and you also advise us at the management level on the percentage of students and then their risk of dropping out. So I think we look at higher education institution, for example, in our university, we look at it on how it can add more values when we invest money, or put in some allocation investing with AI. So I think that is what I wanted to add on just now.
Great. Ben, Kamal, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. In terms of return of investment, one of the things that I would like to emphasize is on the we for the non-degree, non-IT degrees, for example, like Bachelor's of Human Resources, we are embedding professional certifications in AI, such that so that the students will be more marketable after they graduate. So this will allow professional vendor certifications like Google professional certificates to easily map and satisfy university course credits to a tracking, and also um, put in some AI skills among the students so that they will learn how to really use AI. AI also includes the prompt engineering, how can they actually use prompt engineering when they use AI. Okay. Um, Another thing I want to touch on the ROI is that when you implement something like AI systems into the teaching and learning. Um, Previously, when we have our old current system for learning management system, it takes weeks for us to actually do the content. So when we invest in a new learning management systems, the um, the our academic teams can utilize the new system to brainstorm the objectives, map modules, and align page structures up to 20 times faster. So it is no longer a bottleneck. So we are providing the tools that allow rapid curriculum prototyping. So when you invest in something, a good learning management systems, it will really provide a good return of investment, such that the time allocated for academicians to prepare uh, course modules, it will drastically be reduced when they use a good learning management systems.
Great, thanks. Ben, do you want to add something there?
No, I think just that what everyone said is spot on. But something that Nurbia said earlier was particularly, I guess, resonated with me. It's the time that it takes to make decisions. Clients often cite that as one of the biggest pain points. And when you think about a return on investment, you know the activity of executive leadership making a decision is probably one of the most expensive per hour costs that a company has. So investing in decreasing that time not only reduces that cost, but kind of it could potentially speed up your go to market. But what that activity does, improving the time to make a decision, what that activity does is it forces companies to organize their data sets. It forces companies to improve their business insights, their analytics, and which is the foundation for every other improvement that a company wants to make.
Yeah, it's a good point. I was thinking about it as well. I mean, I guess all of us here have been through university and education before we had the benefit of AI, right? But something that I think is on a lot of people's minds is, we've had the benefit of having to do things ourselves, and so therefore we obviously appreciate how much easy, not so much easy, but the benefits of AI. We also are more cognizant of how to use AI and how to be a bit skeptical of some of the things that we see. So one thing I'm curious about is how everyone's approaching it from, I guess, a learning perspective, in the sense that how are we going to educate the next generation so that they can both think deeply about certain topics, be skeptical enough, but be curious enough, and how do we ensure that we don't have some kind of cognitive decline if students just try and do too much with AI and not enough themselves? And I think this is probably one of the great challenges. Well, we can all benefit significantly from it. I wonder how we can educate the next generation so that they are able to think for themselves, but then also get the benefits of AI as well. So I'm very curious about that. I think, Glenn, was there a certain type of activity? I remember you mentioned something
Yeah,
before on how you were approaching this.
that's right. There was a really great example, and there's a few different ways, but um, certainly and I was in a meeting recently with our Dean of IT and some of his staff, and in their Master of IT program, they've done a magnificent a magnificent project that requires the students they must use AI to generate a coded program. And whilst they're demonstrating their program, the academic assessors attempt to hack into it. And in every instance, within 10 minutes, they hacked into every single one of them. And so this, I thought, was a magnificent example of showing using AI, but exposing its limitations. So it was an assignment where it wasn't about them saying, well, it wasn't about saying it is going to be a human-led with AI. It was do this assignment purely using AI to show why it was not actually feasible. And it showed the limitations. It was to me, perfect example of using it to show the limitations. One of the things we do, and it's sort of we're at the other end in the first year of a bachelor's degree, and we do this across the university, is to explain and show students appropriate use of AI and how to use that, and to try and catch out, or I shouldn't say catch out, that's the wrong way to describe it, but to detect inappropriate use as soon as possible and do it. What we're doing in the college is to use those experiences as an educative piece for students rather than a punitive piece. What we've seen in that change, and we've changed this approach probably about 18 months ago, is that by looking at it now from a educative piece of when we detect the likelihood or a potential misuse of AI, we're down to the point. So because that becomes an academic misconduct matter. We now have we're now up to 18 months of no repeat instances of academic misconduct from students. That's a huge change. Now, the vast majority of academic misconduct is now AI. We've got that down to 0 repeat instances per student. And we really put that down to, one, the education we put up front, but then this using it as an educative piece first. The other part that we do is we've changed the way that we do assessment, because whilst we certainly still have students and their assessments in part need to be done at home, some assignments might need to entirely be done at home. But when they're presenting them in class, we make sure we have a viva voce so that we ask questions, we interrogate what may have been done outside of the class so that we know what has been done has actually been understood. So it's a multifaceted element. But 2 really good examples, I think, is one, the educative piece, but the other one in the Masters of IT. I thought that was just a brilliant assignment. Not
That's a great
something I would
idea.
have thought of, but that's probably why I'm not an IT academic.
And that's good to hear, Glenn. Because that's both of those things are really important to industry. And Adam, you mentioned earlier, like we all went to university and we did things ourselves, right? But when you really think about it, though, every generation has had their kind of technology at the forefront, which they used, which was kind of greater than the generation before, right? Ours just happens to be AI. But there are 2, I guess, things that we really focus on, or that's front of mind for me, right? One is critical thinking. It's very easy to find the right answer, right? Now, what do you do with it? Is the question. And I think where industry can work with education is in building simulations that teach learners how to adapt, that teach learners how to pivot, and could consider all the possible scenarios. There are many kind of downstream effects of a single action, especially in technology, right? And so, figuring out what all the possibilities are and adapting to that is very important to technologists. The second thing, though, is not technology related at all. In fact, it's connecting technology to humans. When we advise companies, we often find that the problem or the solution might start with technology, but a very big component of the solution at large is people centric, right? It's related to people adapting the technology, or are people compliant to the process, or are people gaming the system, right? And so figuring out how to take that technology and convincing others that this is the right way to go, teaching others, helping them along the process. It's probably one of the biggest barriers for industry. And so in some way, I like to say that technology isn't always binary. We have to consider the human aspect.
Yeah, good point. Nabiha, I think you were doing some research on this as well, weren't you?
Yeah, so when we have listened to a Ben, for example, saying about the skills that they want from an industry. And in education, in teaching and learning, when we list down all these skills, it comes back to the learning outcomes that the teaching and learning session would like to achieve at the end of the day. And how do we know that the students have acquired the skills that the industry wants? For example, critical thinking. The industry demands critical thinking. The industry demands the technology and human aspect of it, the ability to do this. So we usually do that in education. We assess the students. So whether they are able to have this certain level of critical thinking skills and so on. And the thing with the emergence of AI nowadays is that we have to change the way we assess the students so that the critical thinking skills that the industry demand can be achieved. So the way we assess students, usually if you want to uncover skills such as critical thinking, usually traditionally in many assessment theories, they would suggest the use of authentic assessment so for example, they will encourage educators build or design an authentic assessment. So in authentic assessment design, you'll be able to nurture critical thinking skills, analytical thinking skills. However, authentic assessments nowadays cannot happen traditionally. So if we look at authentic assessment, the characteristic of authentic assessment is that the assessment has to be personalized, the assessment has to be in a real world context, the assessment has to be ill-structured in such a way that there is no single correct answer. However, commonly, previously, we assess students in asking them doing authentic assessment is usually we assess them based on their project report submission. And nowadays, project report submission can be generated easily in generative AI. So although you have an authentic, you have a personalized assessment being designed, you have a real world context, you have ill-structured, this is not sufficient if you measure at the end of the day is the project report. Now, I think Glenn just now mentioned about the processes that involve. So actually what we need to focus is the processes that the students undergo in doing the authentic assessment. And we came up with the criteria. For example, rather than we analyze the project report, now we want the students to be able to, number one, construct their understanding. Number two, perform what they understand. Number three, they have to defend what they understand. So these elements is not measurable and we cannot see this from project report only. So what we say that rather than you ask for students to submit their project report, now we want you to submit your project report, and also you need to do your oral presentation on it. You need to also submit your e-portfolio or your reflective journal that describe what you have done with your friends Or if you're using generative AI, what are the conversations that you have done with the generative AI in coming up with a project report and or the product of the project? So what I'm saying is that we need to have additional learning artifact that we need to collect from the students. Not only collecting the project report, not only looking at the product of assessment, we need to also have additional element that allow us to measure whether they can perform, whether they can indeed perform what they have understand, whether they can construct their understanding, and whether they can defend their ideas and their understanding in real life. So those are the things that I think the elements, the missing middle elements that we have to change and we have to add on to the current way of us assessing our students nowadays, so that we can nurture these critical thinking skills, analytical thinking skills, and the human touch that industry needs in working with technology. So that's what we're working. That's what we are working on right now, Adam, at my university.
Yeah, it's a great example. Wonderful to hear. Quite fascinating. Kamal, Glenn, did you want to share anything off the back of that?
Just want to mention that the difference now when we were in university compared to now is that, for example, the feedback that we receive. Last time when we were used to study, it takes weeks for us to get the feedback from the lecturers. Now we can actually get the feedback almost immediately. So these tools that we have can assist our educators by suggesting the reflective feedback and discussion starters for student posts. So this changes the institution support from a purely manual task to a co-piloted system, so allowing lecturers to maintain a deep engagement with a large number of students. So with this transformation support of direct feedback using AI will really help in getting the students to perform better. Because sometimes we will not know whether the students is actually struggling during the course. Only at the end of the course semester, we find out that they are really not doing well. So with these AI tools that we have, we can actually detect that if the student is struggling midway through, we can do some intervention to make sure that the students are being assisted, so that they will perform better at the end of the semester. In addition to this, compared to the previous way of doing things, that we have this peer group of students of what they call this social constructivism, in which students learn by doing and sharing information and coursework among others. So instead, the students of interacting isolated with an AI, we are using the tools to using AI to spark discussions among the peers. So the meaningful impact here is that AI acts as a catalyst, but the actual learning and confidence building happen through peer collaboration and creating visible learner evidence. So this will help when you do this knowledge sharing among the students, among lecturers, peers. It will actually enhance their teaching and enhance their learning as well, compared to if you do it individually with the AI themselves. That's my thought about it.
Yeah, that's true, actually. And it probably takes us to one of the questions that I can see in the chat, which is around, how you bridge the gap between adoption of AI in industry versus at institutions. And I guess also surfacing some of that evidence of learning, to the employers so that they can see what people have done and their capabilities, some of the things that you're doing, Nabiha mentioned, Glenn mentioned. So I'm wondering, is there a gap at all, really? I mean, maybe adoption in universities is the same or faster or similar to industry. What's everyone's feeling on that, I guess? Is there a gap at all, or do you think adoption is moving at pretty much the same pace?
I think there is a gap. And the fact that people ask that question all the time, is reason enough to believe that there is a gap, whether perceived or not, right? Um, the to address that gap, right? It's and as the word suggests, gap, right? It's about being on the same page, right? And in order to do that, both universities and industry, they have to invest in each other. And I say invest because when a university invests the time and the resources to align with industry, or when industry invests in creating programs or curriculums, digital labs, things like that, right? When they make that investment, the return is faster time to hire. The return is hiring the right people so that there's less attrition. That there's a return in speed to proficiency, right? And there's also a return in the quality of candidates that you're bringing in. They bring a different mindset or a different capability. Even though they're fresh out of university, there is a capability that they're bringing, right? And so those are the returns on investment. Now, what do you invest in, right? It's really teaching in the university. It's teaching what's being done in the companies, right? Or when a candidate kind of starts at the company, right? It's being similar enough to what they learned at university, so they don't have to spend the time unlearning things, right? You can do that through simulations, real world scenarios. You can even do that through organizational structures that you use at work, kind of mimicking that in the workplace, so that you're not just teaching the technology, you're also teaching human interaction, right? And so a lot of that takes time to kind of rework. So if you're learning something at the university and you get to the workplace and you find that it's different, it takes a lot of time to unlearn things. It takes a lot of time to just figure out, like, what do I follow? Who's right? And that time, is well, not only is it better spent, being productive in the workforce, but that time you also see that wasted time in internships, and in the ramp up period, right? So just investing in each other, I think, in curricula, in organizational structures, and practices is probably the best place to start.
Yeah, and look, I would agree. We as an industry, we are slow to adopt. Um, and it's around, and particularly with something like AI that does move quite fast, we are remarkably behind the times. Um, Now, part of what we're looking at doing across the university is not to not to create standalone AI subjects in degrees, but rather embed AI into every subject. Um, so, and to start using a lot more authentic assessments and real world examples, bringing in guest speakers and guest presenters so that students can actually understand and appreciate a much more real world application. But yeah, we are behind, without a doubt. So, and it's something that we do have. We have to come up to speed a lot faster, on a not just AI, but a whole variety of issues. And
I think one thing that I wowould just add to that is that and I'm glad to hear that Glenn is you know pushing AI or incorporating AI into every course, right? Because you still find many universities are limiting AI to computer science courses, right? And if they're not limiting it to computer science courses, kind of the next sort of candidate is business courses, right? Where it's sort of limited to the data analytics piece, right?
yep,
But I mean, we should be looking at AI for the arts as well, right?
that's right. Yeah,
there are there are huge conversations in the arts industries today about the use of AI, right? And so starting at the university level and teaching proper use there will have a real impact to shifting the conversation when you get to people's careers.
Yeah, very good point. So we've got about 5 minutes left, so we might go around and just share some final thoughts on any of the topics or anything that may think we may not have covered. Maybe Nabiha, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think the final take on this issue and on the use of AI in teaching and learning, I think it's very important for us to understand that the students have to first understand the basics. Although, for example, we integrate the use of AI in teaching computer science, we integrate the use of AI in teaching arts, for example. They need to know the basics of, for example, I use AI in teaching my students in building animation. But in building animation, for example, you need to understand that there is a need for a timeline. How do you take care of adjust this timeline? And if you teach coding, you need to know what went wrong with the coding. So these are the basic skills that the students need to acquire. And similar to the case when we argue with the use of calculator in teaching and learning, in teaching maths. However, if you look at calculator, we allow the students to use calculator after they have learned the basics of numeracy skills. Then only we allow them to use calculator. I believe it is the same thing with AI. You need to have, for example, what we can design is you do not allow the use of AI during year 1 or year 2 of the program, but maybe you can allow the use of AI after year 3 and year 4 of study. That in my point of view is that it can allow the students to fully understand the basics and the fundamentals before they use tools to assist them with their learning process. So I think that would sum up what my belief is about the use of AI in teaching and learning, Adam.
Great, thanks. And while you were speaking, I guess the final question came in around, what is a key skill that a seasoned instructor, particularly in senior high school, what could be university as well, should have in teaching? And I guess this probably goes back to some of the conversations we were having around how you integrate into your teaching practice. But if anyone wants to touch on that in your closing remarks as well, feel free to. Glenn, feel free to go ahead.
I will. I think there's two, I'm not going to say I would bring down to two. Critical thinking is absolutely essential, and a good knowledge of the field that you're using AI for. That inquiring mind and the ability to be able to know, is the information I'm getting right? You can't, it's like the coding example. You need to be a good coder. If you're going to use AI for coding, you still need to be a good coder. You can't, because you've got to interrogate it. If you're a good researcher, like when I use it a lot for research, for researching information that's out there, summarizing it, bringing it all together, finding the right reports. That saves me an enormous amount of time. But I've still got to know when I'm reading it, does this actually make sense? So that inquiring mind, that critical thinking is fundamental as for both us using it, but also us teaching it. The other thing I really want to add, I suppose, is that for me, I think AI is yet another major change and a transformation in the way the world works. And universities need to, in some ways, go back to asking some of the basic questions about why we exist, and to a need to fundamentally change the way we go about education. And that's not just AI, it's a whole variety of things. It's the way, we talked about when we went through university. Well, I remember in my bachelor's degree getting my first ever laptop, and you could only buy them in monochrome. Now, I'm probably showing my age, but it was a very different world then than it is today. And I don't think universities have adapted well enough to what is a fundamentally different workplace today and a world that it was even 10 years ago. I could probably say 5 years ago, but I'll say 10.
Feels like so long ago. Actually, I have one of those old laptops.
Monogram,
I collected them when I was younger. Yeah. For playing the snakes and ladders and those fun games.
Yeah, I spilled hot chocolate on mine, so it doesn't work that well.
Yeah, not as durable as they used to be. And then maybe we'll go to Kamal and then finish up with Benj. And I noticed a couple of questions came in that maybe that's for you, Benj, as well. What impact AI might have in the IT sector? Kamal might have some thoughts too.
As an IT director, my takeaway for today's discussion is that technology must always be a human accelerator and never an administrative burden. So at UPTM, we are not deploying AI on or onboarding platforms to replace the lecturer or to simply automate grading. So we are doing it to strip away the digital bureaucracy, the repetitive admin work, the legacy paper trails, and the data entry. So when we offload that burden to a secure institutional AI sandboxes, we give our educators their most valuable asset back, which is time. So they can use this time to act as mentors, time to foster critical thinking, and time to guide students through messy real-world projects. So the future of learning isn't artificial; it is deeply human, co-piloted by technology. So what I'm saying is that the human part of it still remains. It's not to be replaced. Okay.
Thank you.
And I think in giving kind of my final thoughts on this, I'm gonna answer Sehar's question, the last question in the chat. I started working at a time, and I did start working in technology as a web developer. It was kind of my first thing out of uni during the dot-com days. There was or at that time, the running joke was, the folks in IT were, in that kind of glass server room, didn't have any interaction with people, and it was just sort of this given, right? The funny thing is, I still hear that joke today, right? But in 5 years, I don't think so. I don't think we'll hear that. And so, if you ask me like what the future is, for the traditional IT job, it's going to be increasingly more people centric. So, today, you might have a coder and the client, and then in the middle, you'll have someone interpreting what the client needs and passing it on to the coder, right? I think those lines are blurring, and coders today are expected to interface directly with clients to understand, what they're looking for. Because again, there are so many different possibilities and so many different ways technology can take you. You need to you need to shorten the conversation. You need to shorten that discovery process for the coders to truly understand what matters most, those business outcomes that matter most to the client, right? The future of learning or technology and learning and AI and learning, as Glenn said, it's around it's going to be critical thinking, right, as the premium, because technologies are going to change. AI, might be here for a while, but the version of AI we have today is not going to be the same version of AI next year or in 5 years. And so what's going to be consistent is the human aspect, and how that critical thinking kind of evolves, uses the technology and challenges the capabilities and stretches the capabilities of technology. I think that's what universities, learning institutions, should really focus on, is making that connection between tech and humans.
That's a great point. Actually, I remember back to dot-com days, I was probably a little bit younger, but I was also making websites on GeoCities when it first came out as well. And the world, it's come a long way.
If you're citing GeoCities, you're not that much younger.
It's true. Yeah, interesting times. Well, yeah, I really want to thank all of you for today's discussion. It's been really insightful, I think, for everyone on the webinar and for me as well. I mean, some of the things that I think really struck me is that it's really exciting to see how the universities and the industry and education broadly is actually rising to the challenge of these new tools and technology that are coming out. I think when we all first saw ChatGPT a few years ago, it was, we weren't sure exactly where things were going to go. But I think now there's a growing recognition amongst, the industry, the education sector, and even the students as well, that this is a tool that we have to use, and we have to learn how to use it properly, and we can't blindly follow it. And I think the people that do blindly follow it, they're also realizing the pitfalls of that approach as well. So I think that gives me a lot of optimism. I'm sure many of you experience this as well, since we have all these AI tools now. I thought they were going to save me time, but I'm actually busier than ever, because I think it's part of that, Jevons paradox. When something becomes easier, you do more of it. And I think that might be the case with AI in a lot of roles. And I think that gives hope to a lot of students and graduates as well, that, there are going to be new opportunities that come about as part of this. So I think it's really interesting to see some great examples as well in the discussion today of ways in which the curriculum and the learning and teaching process has been adapted, new kinds of activities that we've heard about that you can use in your courses to ensure people are actually using AI appropriately, and ways in which that can be rolled out and adopted. So really, really grateful that all of you were able to join us today. Really appreciate all of your time. The recording of this will be available. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate you joining us today.